I think men are very important in the whole issue of domestic violence. The role of men, in some cases, in some Caribbean communities, have to be redefined. This is not only important for their own well-being, their own social contacts, their own happiness within the family, if you like. It is also important for men as economic actors, that they have this kind of stability at home so they can function better. They perhaps will have a more stable relationship towards other men at work. So the role of men perhaps starts at home.
And if we stop looking at domestic violence as being a special form of violence, and we see it for what it is, it's criminal activity. It is violence generally. So somebody who has become accustomed to violence and to perpetrating violence against somebody is not just going to stop there. Their response when somebody antagonizes them is an aggressive one. So that I may get vexed with my spouse when she answers back to me. You see, I did it there. When the spouse answers back to me, chances are that if my first resort is to aggression and to violence, and when I step outside of the house and somebody else answers back to me or displeases me, then my response again is aggression, quarreling, escalation into violence.
Well, I mean, the first thing about these kinds of crimes in the home is that you have to be open about it. You have to talk about it. You have to find someone you trust that you can report to. And it could be the police. It could be a neighbor who's interested in helping you. It could be a member of the family. But you have to talk. If you don't talk, if you stay silent, that's the worst thing that can happen, in my opinion. So perhaps the idea of bringing forward witnesses and making people talk is the most important thing of them all. So if you have the combination of people being willing to bear witness and there are others listening who can take the matter forward, then you have a momentum.
I would suggest that you speak with your family members, speak with your pastor or your priest, a member of clergy in your church. Speak to someone, your friend, your confidant, someone who will believe you and someone who would be able to hold your hand and guide you towards a solution.
I would say to those who are victims or abusers that there are organizations out there who are willing to help. Find the information, find the organizations, go to them, because understand that you have a problem. There is a problem, and once you recognize that there is a problem, go out there. There is hope. There are people out there who are willing to help, people who are willing to listen, and people who are willing to make sure that the situation does not happen again, because we want to stamp out domestic violence.
And the people that listen, that should in principle be a well-trained police force. It should be school teachers that can see the signs of violence at home immediately. As part of the curriculum, when they're in teachers' college, they learn about that. It should be the minister or the vicar or the priest in the parish. It should be non-governmental organizations, non-state actors of all kinds.
To the offender, I would suggest that you search yourself. Look within your own history and find out if there is a reminiscent past where you have experienced domestic violence yourself, and come to reconciliation with that.
So the victim can get caught in the spiral of being a victim, while the perpetrator can get caught in the spiral of being a perpetrator. So for domestic violence to be effectively controlled or stamped out, and I believe we should be aiming to stamp it, or we should have a zero tolerance to violence. Everybody needs to understand it does not have to be that way. There is help for both victims and perpetrators, but people need to have the courage to speak out and say, I am being abused. And those who are abusing need to be able to take a look at themselves and realize I have a problem. But once again, it boils back down to education. If we as a society turn our blind eye when we know our neighbors are being abused, or we hear the licks coming from a house, and we say nothing, we don't speak to that person, then he or she does not know that their behavior is being frowned upon.
Well, both need help, the victim and the abuser. You cannot treat it as a one-prone disease, right? A lot of people do things that don't even know they're doing it. A lot of people put up with things that they don't even understand they're putting up with. So help need to be.
And that is that when you speak out against domestic violence, you don't just help the victim or you help other people and you set a precedent. But there is another factor as well, that is people who do not speak out. They internalize domestic violence as the way things are. Yes. And they would eventually condone it when their own daughter, for instance, is, and that is extremely dangerous, and that perpetuates domestic violence forever and ever. And we have to stop that vicious cycle. And by speaking out, you also help to break that cycle, I think.
Whenever is the word I would like to put out there. Whenever you see it, speak out. Whenever you encounter it, share. Whenever you're damaged, go seek help. Whenever you could put a plug in it to stop it, do it.
This is an EU-funded project.